Hello again. I am Dennis. For the past week I have had the experience traveling around with a Hermetic magician and Germanic occultist named Berhard. I have never learned so much about the science of magic and the true nature of religion. Religion is really very simple. Religion is the imitation of your god or goddess upon the earth. You are to become the physical representation of the divinity you worship on the earth. Berhard is a good example of who I now understand Thor and Hercules to be. He has shown me how important that the old gods had flaws and made mistakes. These great beings still had room for improvement, and were always seeking a more refined state of being, but without having to lose their essential nature. Humans can also, and will always be flawed and make mistakes, but it is their willingness to learn and accept responsibility that is the show of their divinity. Prime Creator is your superior self. Prime Creator is all that you could be, and your drive to become all that you could be is your greatest and best worship of the Prime Creator, which is the only thing the Prime Creator wants from you. When I began to think about it, it made more sense than the religious structure I had been taught as a child where some distant God created me, and from the instant I was born the God saw me as dirty and unclean and a sinner. I then had to live my life in constant guilt and shame for who I was, and beg for this God to love me, and not cast me off into a pit of fire and torture. How sick are we as a people to shape and mold our lives around such a sadistic concept. Berhard said we should try an experiment. He had me call a psychologist friend of mine, and instead of the word God I used Father, and told her that my father saw me, and wrote me letters, because he never showed himself to me, and had other members of the family tell me how much of a failure I was, and that I was made to get on my knees and beg him to love me, and if I didn't he would have me thrown out of the house, to die on the streets alone, and in constant fear, and that my only hope was for my older brother to come back home, and set things right, but I needed to learn to be just like him, or my father would never accept me. I asked her if this was love, or a healthy relationship in any way. She was horrified, and began crying for me. I said please don't be mad, but I was talking about God, the letters were the Bible, the members were the disciples, the house was heaven and the street was hell and my older brother Jesus. She was silent for about a minute. Berhard had to cover his face with a pillow, because he was laughing so hard. I must admit once I began to see what the form of religion really was about I started laughing too. My friend on the phone said that was a little cruel, and had to go. I started laughing not really, because it was funny, but because it was cathartic. I needed to do something to release all this anger and fear that had built up in me. It was either laughter or tears. Berhard had made his point to me. The Illuminati had developed a system of fear-based spirituality that keeps us ashamed and fearful of being prideful to be the best we can be, and to wait for some bygone hero to come save us, and that the end times were a playbook to accept the evil being done as the plan, and then once it is all set up Jesus comes and saves the day. Except the real twist is there is no Jesus, that he should have been the hero to save the day long before now, and now that their control grid and global prison system in plane you're condemned to a real hell. It's a lot to take in. It's exciting too. That I could be a hero, that I'm a child of promise, which I believe Berhard, when he says we all are the heroes and children of promise. It's beautiful really. Asked Berhard to show me what spirit evocation is. He said that is a hard thing to do. He said he would rather open a vortex to a planetary realm, and allow me to absorb and interact with the energies and intelligences there. The prospect of experiencing other realms of existence was also intriguing. I had seen the video about Mars. Everyone wants to go to Mars, Berhard said, and then suggested Saturn or the Moon instead. I was set on Mars. We ran down to a botanical, and purchased a few things. Some red candles, some herbs Berhard crushed into incense, and burned over coals in a cast iron bowl and a fabric store, to get a red cloth big enough for us to lay down on. Point I was told to be silent as Berhard opened up in a number of prayers and invocations. It was until he began calling to the spirits and energy of Mars, that I began to feel a distinct presence in the room. Like Berhard said would happen, the room while still there seemed very much not a part of my reality anymore. Berhard told me to lay down on the cloth, crush some herb mixture in my hand, and take a strong smell and best as possible let myself slip away, and get carried by the energy current. It took a few times, but suddenly I felt myself melt, and I was now what looked like a Spartan training hall, the torches going, a huge statue of the god Mars which later Bearheart told me was Ares, animal skins, weapons, and pictures of battles decorated the walls. It was harsh, but had the air of distinction and a brutal elegance. I could almost see Bearheart sitting in a big leather chair next to a roaring fire in a huge brick fireplace, next to a very well-dressed man both drinking and smoking together. The man had very sharp-looking teeth and a big gaping hole through his chest, like someone ripped out his heart. They were laughing and talking very fast. I heard heavy footsteps behind me, and I turned to see a huge man in Spartan armor, helmet, spear, and shield. He told me I rode in on a stronger man's horse, and that I was not worthy to stand in this hall yet. But if I could find my balls he should teach me what I needed to do to be worthy. I said yes please. Suddenly things got very hazy, and I couldn't see or hear what this man was doing or saying very well anymore. I realized I was waking up. I sat up to see Bearheart still in trance. Try as I might I couldn't get back. I felt very discouraged. Bearheart roused about 20 minutes later. I asked him what he experienced. He said he had met a powerful spirit, that is more a statesman and diplomat than battlefield warrior, but his intellect and social skills were as devastating as any standing army. I told him what I saw, and described the man. Bearheart was taken back. Wow, he said, you were in the Shed of Rebellion. I asked him what that was. Bearheart said it was a place, to exist on the astral realm, where great military-minded spirits would did their best to overthrow dictators and despots usually end up, and help influence the minds of future evolutionaries. He said the spirit of Thomas Jefferson and George Washington has been there as well. I tell Bearheart about the Spartan I met. He is a guardian and a trainer, he said. Bearheart didn't know his name, but that he would offer to teach you in a big step. Bearheart said that I had come to this place by my astral body following his. I told him about what the Spartan said about the riding of the horse. Bearheart said that made a lot of sense. That my astral body had the experience of a very high-level location on the astral realm, and was hit with too much information and too much energy too fast, and wasn't ready for that amount of vibration and sensation. The Spartan wanted you to get stronger, so you could stay on his level longer. What do? I asked Bearheart. You develop your will, and your physical body through a very tough exercise. Bearheart explained that there are certain exercises that train your will force, and your physical body. That I should do this every day, and say I do this to earn the right to enter the Shed of Rebellion. Bearheart had me get down in a push-up position, or a sometimes called a pike pose in yoga. He said hold this position of 1 minute, and no matter what don't stop. I thought no problem. But after 20 seconds went by my whole body was shaking, and I felt my arms become jelly. Bearheart said, don't you want to get into the Shed of Rebellion? I said yes. Bearheart then said to me very sternly, then you better fucking earn it, you have 30 more seconds. Those 30 seconds felt like forever. Bearheart kept pushing me not to drop out of the posture. When the minute mark came I collapsed to the floor. Bearheart said now you know what you can do. It's not easy, but you are stronger than you thought. You are mastering your will force, and your physical body. You are earning the right to have a powerful astral body. That Spartan spirit was watching you, and he will watch you each time you do this. Once you can do a minute no sweat hold for 1 minute and 30 seconds and build up. Bearheart then held the pose for 5 minutes, and seemed like he could have gone even longer. It is not fancy, but anyone anywhere could do it or something like it. That's the mystery of power, Bearheart said. We all are capable, we all carry the tools to do it. Most just don't. By completing this, I had earned merit and self-worth and a stronger upper body. I am still in amazement how simple it was, but how hard the effort. I suddenly felt a sense of victory. Bearheart said victory is contagious. The more you attain, the more you will naturally seek to attain to even more. The danger is that people begin to seek this feeling over wasteful pursuits, or for just their own glory, and not for the glory of humanity's liberation. If I keep up this practice on a near daily schedule and visit Mars no more than twice a month, I will soon be taught directly from this Spartan spirit, having earned the right to possess the knowledge he would impart, and be in the position to use it. Today is probably my last day with Bearheart. He is going off to Northern California to meet up with a few people that are linked to the Illuminati. He says he expects that he will be fine, but is still a little nervous. Bearhart says that when he was younger he was recruited into a youth group put on by the LDS or Mormon, or as Bearhart says, Mammon Church. This group talked about the occult and that soon all the religions would join as one, but the Mormon Church would pretend to stand against it to collect the disenfranchised members of Christian churches who could see the end-time prophecies coming true, but were being played fools, because that is what the Illuminati have programmed them to see. The Illuminati defeating the resistance by pretending to defeat the Illuminati. Bearhart says he was lucky to have met the man he did that showed him the true purpose of Hermetic magic, and got him out, before he became too involved. He is going, so that he can ask a few pointed questions, and he hopes he will get a few honest answers. I wish him well. Thank you. For probably the last time. I am Dennis. Thank you for listening.